Hey everyone, this is the scenario discussion analysis of Aegis, now in its second version. The first version had aircraft carriers that spawned in the north, which have now been replaced with battleships, obviously in preparation of the aircraft carrier rework. This will be a general overview of the scenario with mention of tasks, spawns, and a basic strategy to achieve 5 stars. The map used in this scenario is mountain range, which you will also encounter a fair amount in random and ranked battles. Now, tasks you need to accomplish for the primary tasks. The first one is pretty much done automatically. You just need to spot the friendly convoy you need to rescue. Second is also done automatically. Just sink the enemy cruisers escorting the convoy. And the third one is the one where you might have a little trouble. You need to escort at least one transport ship out off the map. This sounds easy, but if you sink the escorts too quickly and you lose a ship or two really early, sometimes you might not actually win the scenario. Now, secondary tasks include saving the shores, and if it gets sunk, you need to save the captain, and there's a timer of 1 minute and 30 seconds to do so, otherwise you lose a star. The next task is also done automatically. There is a diamond that shows up on the map, which a ship just needs to approach. Now the next one is also done automatically, either just from sinking the first wave of ships or a combination of the first and second waves. The next task is a little problematic. You might lose a star for this one, as if mentioned, if you sink the convoy escorts for task 2 of the primary too quickly, and the convoy escorts turn too early, it is actually really easy to lose a transport or two. And then the last task is to sink all the northern battleships that spawn after you sink the escorts. If you don't have ships pushing north to kill these battleships, it's actually easy to run out of time before you sink them all and lose a star. Now for ship spawns, there are a fair number of groups. The first is the vanguard of 5 ships, which the ship composition can vary significantly. You'll typically spot them either at D or E6, and you'll be sinking them typically at F6 and 7. Second group is Northwest spawn, which actually can be spotted at E3 if you have an aircraft carrier doing so. More often you'll spot them at C3 going southeast, and depending on how fast you sink them, you can sink them all by E5 or E6. Next group is the convoy escorts, which spawn at A6 and 7 going south. Depending on how fast you kill them, you probably sink them at D6 and 7 or E6 and 7, the second of which is more ideal. After the convoy escorts are sunk, Then you have the northern battleships that spawn, which have replaced aircraft carriers in the previous version. And you need to have ships pushing up to sink these, otherwise you lose a star. And then the last group that shows up is a various number of ships, and there's typically a couple groups that show up depending on timing in the northeast corner. Depending on how much you push these ships, they may be shooting at or not shooting at your transports that you're saving. Another factor is how far south the transports have gone, which also helps in this part of the scenario. Now there's one more spawn of ships that is typically player spawned, which is 3 extra battleships, a Congo, Fuso, and a Magi. We have tested letting the convoy go south to the F line and seeing if these will spawn automatically, but so far that's unproven. If you let the transports go further south to the G line, they're going to have a hard time getting to the exit to actually finish the scenario. So as far as is known, the extra battleships are all player spawned by entering a box that I can show you with another image, which I will link in the description. Now, the basic strategy to get 5 stars in this is first, cruisers and destroyers use the Mahon smoke that he gives out once the Vanguard is spotted. If you're using a heavy cruiser, you may need to stay a little farther back. And battleships stay south, more on the GF line, to avoid torpedoes being shot by cruisers and destroyers. Once you sink the Vanguard, 1 or 2 ships stay west to sink the northwest group, while the rest of the ships, which should include all the battleships, go east. And then this will basically accomplish a lot of the automatic tasks. Third is sinking the convoy escorts. Now, as mentioned previously, you actually want to wait and sink the convoy escorts when the transports are at the E line rather than previous to it. The reason for this is leaving the transports turning at the E line puts them out of gun and torpedo range of the ships that spawn in the northeast corner, which makes finishing the scenario and saving all the transports significantly easier. And what you can do is pick one ship escorting the convoy to keep alive until the E line. The current ship that we use is number 3, which is the most northwestern cruiser. Now, after the convoy escorts are sunk, you'll have the spawn of northern battleships, and to sink these quickly and get the task done, now we have the two ships that stayed west. That's typically either a destroyer and a smoke cruiser, or two destroyers. And what you can do is have a destroyer position itself north of the island at A4. The cruiser will position themselves north of the island at B4. And if you have a second destroyer, position itself not quite middle of A5, as if you go too far east, you'll spawn the extra battleships. And with this setup, you can sink the two western battleships easily and let everyone else focus on sinking the Fuso and the northeastern ships pushing south. Now, one thing to note is you don't need any of your player ships alive to finish this scenario. So you are actually free to have everyone sink to make sure all 5 transports stay alive. And obviously you don't want to forget that you need to pick up the shore's captain if it sinks. It's actually sometimes easier if the shores sinks early, so you don't need to worry about it, and also that it won't sink the convoy escort you are keeping alive too early. And that's pretty much it for Aegis. If you have any questions, just let me know.